Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome back into the Ohio State of Mind podcast, episode number 18. I am one of your hosts, Michael Chen. On the other side with me is Josh Keatley. And the biggest Buckeye news of this past week has been the elevation of James Laurinaitis. So Laurinaitis was a graduate assistant helping out with the linebackers. Ohio State's had a unmanned 10th coaching spot for weeks now. Laurinaitis stepped up, went out on recruiting trips, and ultimately got rewarded with this job. Now, part of it might have been the fact that the NFL was knocking at his door. There were reports that he was going to take an interview with the Cleveland Browns for an unknown position. So, this might, I don't want to say it's a heartline situation because clearly position coach, offensive coordinator, completely different. But I definitely think that Ryan Day said, you know what, I got to lock this guy up before someone else takes him. So big time move by Day. I like it. Josh, what are your initial thoughts on James Laurinaitis getting elevated?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is very comparable to the Brian Hartline situation because especially now that we're reflecting upon the Brian Hartline hire, we see that maybe he was not ready for an offensive coordinator position. They got pigeonholed at the time. Northwestern was kind of talking about going after Brian Hartline. Cincinnati was talking about going after Brian Hartline.
Wisconsin as well.
That's right, Wisconsin as well. I think that was super unlikely, but yeah, that was a thing that was popping up. So Ohio State felt the need. Hey, we got to give this guy more money. We got to give them more responsibility. Let's rock and roll. You saw with Laurinaitis too, right? Laurinaitis was on the recruiting trail. There wasn't really a whole lot of heat behind hiring Laurinaitis. A lot of the rumors floating around were talking about Jason Taylor coming in as an assistant and kind of taking over for Larry Johnson, which I wasn't really
correct.
Which we could kind of dive into that as well. I'm not exactly stoked that was a possibility either. Judging the guy from Miami where NIL is just, they're basically printing money. It's kind of hard as far as recruiting goes. But I think that, the NFL was calling. He had some interviews with the Browns. I don't think that was ever going to happen due to his lack of resume, but it was enough to scare Ohio State into hiring him. I don't think it's a bad move. I don't think it's a foolish move. I think Laurinaitis is a guy, if this was last year, I'd be all for it because my whole thing was, hey, we need more heat. We need more tenacity. We need more fire. This team lacks it. They need something. That's what they're losing against Michigan. I'm a little less like that this year because they've done so well hiring. They've done a great job hiring. They've gotten some outside minds to kind of, break up the monotony that was Brian Day's play calling. So I'm not too concerned about it this year. Plus, we kind of talked about Laurinaitis and the potential of him leaving last week. So I've kind of already got it in my head that he was gone, made kind of peace with it. But yeah, I don't really have a bad comment. His resume isn't in depth enough to really have a bad comment. We do know that he's young. We do know that he had a hell of an NFL career. So that's really
career.
yeah. But these recruits, they care about what you did in the NFL. How much money did you make, right?
That's true.
Brian Hartline comes and picks you up at the airport with his Lamborghini. That's a successful guy, right?
Yep.
And the recruits feed off that. So I think that's one thing Laurinaitis is going to bring as well. Whether he can identify talent or not, I have no idea. You know what I mean? His background, it's not like, I don't know. It's kind of a miss. It's a guess. It's a gamble. But,
to back that point up, I just want to say one quick thing. I'll let you get back to it. Laurinaitis was instrumental in Kingston via Milu Asa. Ended up committing to Notre Dame, signed with Notre Dame, obviously. But the reason why the Buckeyes were still in his recruitment was because the relationship that they formed while Laurinaitis was with the Irish. So I do think that he's a very good recruiter, and I don't think that that's an issue.
I don't think that's an issue either. I was more referencing like his ability to identify talent. I think Hartline has proven he's really good at that.
Sure.
He's got some 3-stars that have really splashed.
Okay.
He's offered guys that were 3-stars and excelled all the way up to 5-star, right? He has a good reputation for doing that. Now developing, I know there's some arguments there. Fine, I'll let you have that. Or I'll let those who argue against him developing, I'll let them have that for now. But there's no disputing that he's able to identify guys before they get hot in these recruiting circles. Whether Laurinaitis can do that, I don't know. I don't think he really needs to, though. You're at Ohio State. That stuff's not as vital. Those 5-stars and 4-stars kind of, knock on the door for you.
Yep.
But we'll see. I don't think it's not a hire that's, if it's a bad hire, it's not going to affect them. This is a position that they didn't have before. Jim Knowles was coaching the linebackers. So even if Laurinaitis is a bad linebackers coach, first of all, linebackers, a lot of it is based off of your intangibles, your intuition, understanding being in the right spot. A lot of those things are hard to teach.
Sure. Yeah.
Just kind of frees up Jim Knowles to roam around the defense, have a bigger say. So it should, even if Laurinaitis is a bad coach, it should have a pretty positive impact because Knowles should be more free to kind of roam around.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense because that's kind of what Ryan Day wants. He wants that CEO type of roles for some of his coordinators, and that's kind of what he's giving. So I think you're spot on with that point. I don't think, again, like you said, I don't think that the talent really searching for the talent is really going to be an issue for Laurinaitis. There's plenty of prospects that will have Ohio State on their list regardless of who is the position coach. So I agree with you at that because. Let's be real here. It's Ohio State. They recruit at a high level every year, virtually. Every once in a while they have a down year, but that's probably due to numbers, in my estimation.
When's the last time? When's the last time they had a down year?
And it's numbers. I think they had a 16th ranked class a number of years ago, and that was because they only had 17, 19 commits somewhere in that range, and that's the only reason. It's just numbers. Usually when Ohio State signing 23, 25 guys, and I'll pull it up. I'll see if I can find it. But if they're pulling the same amount, I mean, the SEC goes above and beyond and signs 27, 30 dudes, right? So that's pretty much why Ohio State doesn't win the mythical recruiting championship. But when you look at the average, 247 Sports composite rankings, the average recruit ranking, Ohio State's near the top every single year because it's not just quantity, it's quality as well. So, the recruiting to me, I don't think that that's going to really change. I still think that Laurinaitis will do a great job at that. So, speaking of recruiting, Jeremiah Smith, man, he's making waves already. They're already talking about that young man. Being in the 2 deep, getting a lot of playing time. I think the expectation as the number 1 player in the country is to come into whatever. Agreed with that, Roy. He definitely knows what he's doing in St. Louis, although he didn't have the greatest career.
Roy's a big St. Louis guy. Got to throw that out there.
But Jeremiah, he's got a lot in his shoulders. Coming in as, like I said, the top recruit in the country. Josh, you get a chance to watch his film and see what he's all about. What's your breakdown of Jeremiah Smith?
All right. Okay. So to recap for everybody, Michael is the recruiting expert. I bow down before your recruiting prowess and your scouting ability. And you've been watching Jeremiah Smith. You've been talking about Jeremiah Smith for, I don't know, how long we've been writing together? 2 years? Ever since you started. Yeah, ever since you joined Buckeyes, you've been talking about Jeremiah Smith. I kind of, he's such a polarizing prospect. He kind of falls in the same realm as Quinn Ewers, Julian saying, where they're playing on ESPN. Even if you don't care about recruiting, you've probably likely glanced at Jeremiah Smith. He had a game last year, dude. I don't remember who it was against, but it was on ESPN on a Friday night, and he had that one-handed grab.
Yeah,
he had that big touchdown. Anybody who watched the Under Armour All-American game, or I guess it's Adidas now, the USA Army All-American game, saw him have that touchdown. The dude's talented.
Very talented.
But I finally got into trying to go into depth here, and I was very excited to share my thoughts with you to see what you thought, because the first guy to come to my head was a guy who I think that most people would think is insulting. I see a lot of Noah Brown in him.
Okay.
Now let me preface. Now, I mean, obviously the obvious comparison is a guy like Julio Jones.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody always says that. Right. Yeah. I get that, but that's also really, really unfair. That's not a real, there are a lot of trails. That doesn't mean he's bad, right?
Sure. No.
Okay. So, but as far as Ohio State recruiting goes, he reminds me kind of Noah Brown. Now, again, most people are going to think that's an insult because Noah Brown was a 7th round pick. He only had 1 year of production. But the reason he only had 1 year of production is because he got hurt his sophomore year. He played every game his freshman year, his true freshman year. And he played every game. Got hurt his sophomore year, came out his redshirt sophomore year, was absolutely, I don't want to say he was gangbusters, but everybody remembers that game against Oklahoma. The dude was very, very talented. And then he boosted, he left, right? So, if he had 2 years of eligibility remaining, if that guy would have stayed, maybe we would have been, maybe his I don't know. His remembering Noah Brown maybe wouldn't be in such a negative fashion. It'd be more of a compliment. But he was a big guy. He was a big guy when they recruited him. That was a guy who played running. He played a lot of running back in high school when out of New Jersey. Big dude, deep threat guy. Most of it was either in the back of the end zone or he was going deep. He does a lot of that same stuff with the Houston Texans. So I don't think it's insulting. If you isolate that Oklahoma game, for example, and that was against top competition, Oklahoma, Noah Brown looked like a first-round pick. I mean, it's probably one of the best performances by an Ohio State wide receiver in Ohio State history, especially with that. I mean, that back behind that back when he caught the ball behind that guy's back. That's one of the best catches in college football history. So I don't think it's an insulting comparison. I think that Noah Brown had a lot of potential, but that's kind of what I see with Jeremiah Smith. He dominates a lot with his length. He boxes out the defensive backs. That's probably his size and his strength and his ability to use his size and be aware of his body are what I view as his greatest traits.
Yeah, no, he's the Noah Brown comp is not terrible. I wouldn't went there.
I know you hate you. I can tell you don't like it.
You said who, but let's put it this way. Noah Brown's played in the league for 7 years.
Yeah.
7 years. Like he's carved out a very successful, in my eyes, NFL career. I don't care about stats and all that stuff. When you talk about an NFL career, you're talking about longevity. 7 years is a fairly long time. He's vested into the retirement fund with the 7 years. And then on top of that, he's made some money too. I mean, let's be real here. So, it's not just about stats. It's about getting there, staying there, and getting paid. And he's done that.
I want to preface the comparison with Noah Brown left with 2 years of eligibility remaining. That's not going to happen with Jeremiah. I mean, if Jeremiah Smith leaves with 2 years, that's probably not going to happen with Jeremiah Smith, right? Unless he gets hurt, which is what happened to Noah Brown.
Well,
he's going to play all 3 years.
He's 3 years ago for sure.
Exactly. But that's not. I mean, in today's college football, that means he's got 7 years of eligibility remaining. But that means he's got 1 year of eligibility remaining. Noah Brown didn't do that. He got redshirted and still he bailed as a redshirt sophomore. That's kind of unheard of. It's kind of crazy. His Ohio State career probably would have been a whole lot better if he would have stayed.
Malik Hartford. No. Was it Malik Hartford? He is a sophomore, redshirt sophomore, and blew up, went to the NFL, right?
Malik Hooker.
Malik Hooker. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then. And another thing too, Jeremiah Smith is a much more well-rounded wide receiver now. Jeremiah Smith could probably make an NFL. That's pretty crazy, but he is as good as a lot of NFL receivers now because he played wide receiver exclusively in high school. Noah Brown didn't. They moved him around a lot. He played running back. I think there was even some him playing quarterback, like on those close games. He was doing direct snaps and stuff. So he's already much more well-rounded as a receiver. Shoot, I think when Noah Brown was recruited, there was even rumors of him moving from wide receiver for a short period of time because he was listed as an athlete, kind of like Curtis Samuel.
Sure.
And was Paris Campbell like that too? I can't remember. I know
Paris played a little running back in high school as well.
And Jeremiah Smith's not like that. So Jeremiah Smith is already probably more well-rounded than Noah Brown was, but their games just feel very, very similar. You don't see a lot of that with current Ohio State receivers. Where they're just dominate with their size. A lot of it is they're dominating with their quickness, their speed, their route running, acceleration. Yeah. Even Marvin Harrison, I don't know if dominating with size was his strongest point. I mean, Jeremiah Smith, Noah Brown, he was a power forward. I mean, there were numerous clips of JT Barrett throwing it up in the back of the end zone, and Noah Brown just doing it.
Yeah. No, it's definitely it. Real quick, I did a little research on the recruiting. 2017, the Buckeyes finished 14th. They only had 17. They only had 17 commits. But again, like I said, when you look at the average ranking, only 2 other schools had higher average rankings for their recruits, and that was Alabama and Georgia. So again, it's a numbers thing, like a numbers thing. But back to Smith. I like, Julio Jones is the one that everyone says Julio Jones. It's a good one. I mean, the size, the speed, the strength, the ability, like it's right there. Megatron, that's another one. You got a big wide receiver who bodies, who's got speed. Calvin Johnson was a dude, and he played in a run offense at Georgia Tech. Was still a first round pick, Hall of Famer. I
Yeah.
mean that's the kind of players that he's getting comp to. So
What's a
it's
good
impressive.
Ohio State comparison? Do you have a comparison for someone that hey, this is
Man,
maybe a similar career trajectory, or he plays with a similar style, or
it's hard to say because you don't see a lot of Buckeye wide receivers come in and play right away. You just don't. Like I don't know, back like
can
David Boston might be a good one.
That's
Um,
okay. I could see that.
a bigger, stronger wide receiver. Although I think
Physical.
Smith is faster. I think Smith is faster than Boston.
Really?
So like if I'm going, Jeremiah Smith's gonna run a 4.44 340 when
What
he's
did
gonna
David
run
Boston
pro day.
run?
I'd probably around the same. I mean, Boston was huge, but he was also on juice. So who really knows?
He didn't get on juice until he got hurt.
Yeah, I
He was
don't know.
not on juice
I
at
don't know
Ohio
about that. He was huge. He was a massive dude. And back then, I think the testing was pretty lax. I mean, we all watched the program. We saw him.
Dude, he was a different kind of huge in San Diego and Miami.
That is true. He was an absolute monster. I mean, he was a tank.
I do think that is a good comparison.
That's because he played a lot. He played early and he played often, and left early after 3 years. So like it's hard to say because you don't see guys come in and play immediately. I mean, look at Chris Olave. Like look at Harrison Jr. Like those guys waited. They had to wait. He's going to be.
No, Brown played early though.
And yeah. But he's going to be on the field day one. I mean, let's be real here. It wouldn't surprise me one bit for the Buckeyes to line up on the first snap of the year to see Jeremiah Smith. Not one bit.
Let me ask you another question. You're very, very confident in saying Jeremiah Smith is going to line up and play week one. When you say that, do you envision him starting? Is he going to be in the top three?
I think he's going to be in the top three. I think he's in the top three already.
Are you going to be disappointed if he's not?
No. Because he's going to play a lot. He's going to play a lot anyways. It doesn't matter.
Because you still have.
Okay. So they might trot out Carnell and Inus if they're going three wide. If they go far with obviously Emeka Egbuka. And
Jane Ballard. I mean,
I think he's above Ballard already. Yes. Already.
Well, then okay.
I think Ballard's fifth on my depth chart. If we're making one, he's fifth.
Well, then that leads me. Okay, then so you're saying is Jane Ballard going to transfer to spring then?
No. Because if he was going to transfer, he would transfer already.
So you think that
he has a role. He's an Ohio kid. Like again, I really think that at this point in time, he's been in the program. This is the third or fourth year, right?
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. He's a guy that's going to stay. Maybe after this year, if he really doesn't get any run, but injuries are going to happen. People are going to get hurt. It's football. It happens. He's going to get an opportunity to play this year.
If I'm that kid, and let's say the depth chart goes in Emeka Egbuka. Well, give me your top. Give me your. So you'd say he's fifth. So you have Emeka Egbuka, Brandon Innis, and Jeremiah Smith.
Well, I'd probably put Smith at 3. I'd put Tate at 2, and I'd put Inus at 4.
That's 3 guys younger than him ahead of him, right? Not just younger by 1 year. Those are one guy's a true freshman, right? Yeah. If I'm Jaden Ballard and people have been telling me that I'm a star, and I exit spring and I'm behind 3 guys that are younger than me, I don't know. I mean, I hope you're right. I
get it. I mean, I get it. That it's a valid point. It's valid, but is this another Jameson Williams type of thing?
Potentially,
it could be.
That's why I wrote that article about possible wide receiver transfers to Ohio State, and that got dumped on Facebook and all the comments and stuff because like whoever over the championship. But I named a lot of guys that are going to be satisfied not playing, right? I could see that happening. I could see a guy because they only have 6 wide receivers, right?
Yeah.
Realistically,
they're pretty. Again, that's why I think that even being the 5 isn't the worst thing. He's going to play, just because he's lower on the depth chart than he'd like to be. I mean, he played last year. He played the year before. Like he's played. It's not like he played enough last year. Like he was the primary punt returner too. Like he's got a role. It's not like he's not playing. It's just that he's not getting as much playing time as those other wide receivers. That's it. He's playing. I mean,
That's
it
gonna
could
be.
be it could be very well. You could be right, and it could be another James
Oh,
Williams type
I
of
didn't say that
situation.
was.
Well,
I'm
no,
on
I'm
the
just
opposite
saying.
spectrum. I didn't say that was going to happen because I think
Oh,
that Jaden Ballard's going to start.
yeah,
But in your situation,
yeah, he's
I'm
fine.
just yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, yeah, you're hypothetical. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. 100%. I get it. But again, he's a Maslin kid. Maslin, like they love Ohio State, man. They love Ohio State. I mean, I just feel like I just don't feel like he looks for a greener pasture. I think he's comfortable. Why would you leave somewhere that you're comfortable? And you know everybody, and your family can come to see you. Like where else is he? Like he can go to Cincinnati and play, I guess. But like,
Immediately.
right,
He'd be the number one. He would be the number one guy at I don't want to
right.
exaggerate 75 other schools.
But do it as a grad transfer then. You know, if
I
he
don't.
doesn't
It'll be
get,
interesting.
I think he stays. I just don't think I don't see him leaving. I can't see it. I just don't.
Do you think that if someone does leave, that they add a wide receiver through the transfer portal in the spring?
I mean, they almost have to, right?
I would think so.
They almost have to.
I would think so. I feel like that's a pretty silly question as well because I feel like you have to because like you said that you got what 6 wide receivers that you see on the two that realistically that are good, and then if he leaves, that brings you down to 5. You want 6, so yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah,
But
no,
again, most people don't.
no, but again, that's it kind of is what it is. So let's take a look at the roster of what we got here for wide receivers. So we'll just run down, see, because yeah, all right. So is Kojo Antwi still with the team? Yeah, yeah, he is, right? So I mean that's yeah, right. So Jaden Ballard, you got Ibuka, Keon Graves, I believe he's still with the
Grant
team.
Graves got hurt all last year too. It's another guy that might get some
Right.
run.
I believe both of the Rogers left. If I'm correct.
No, one came back. Remember?
What? Oh yeah, you're right. So Bryson Rogers, Noah Rogers as well, and Carnell. You got plenty of talent. Actually, I'm rescinding that. I don't think
Really?
I don't think that it's an immediate need.
Oh, I didn't say it was immediate need, but
and maybe they add a depth piece just in case, but you're not going to go out and get like another superstar.
No, but a guy
like Caleb Downs type of wide receiver, right? You're just
not. No. I was more thinking like what was
like
it, Mario Williams at USC?
Sure, like a depth guy. Yeah, that would be cool. I'd be fine with that. I don't think that would be the worst thing, but it also depends on who leaves too, right? So if you don't have anybody leaving from the room, you're clean with injuries. Nobody tears an ACL or something. I wouldn't say that that's something that Ryan Day would go after. All right, I do think that they go after his offensive tackle.
Yeah.
However, I read a report on Bucknuts today that said that Luke Montgomery and Tegra, they're making waves here. So that might have been why they didn't pull the trigger on an offense tackle because multiple ones have jumped in the portal. So,
we talked about Luke Montgomery to an exhaustive level because I mean that was a guy that they kept telling us he was special. He's special. He's ready. He's special. Right. He could be the first Ohio State player to start as a freshman guy, and it didn't happen.
Right.
But yeah, we heard about that. And Tegra Shabola, that was a guy that you and I both liked. I kind of compared him to like a lesser than Corey Stringer, the way he kind of body bags guys. My understanding is that he's playing that way in college as well, on practice at least. So yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Both those guys are very good. They were very good in high school. Hopefully that's the case.
Hopefully that is the case. All right, let's so we got a bunch of topics that we did want to hit. Let's talk about the Buckeyes playing in Wrigley. Northwestern, they are demolishing Ryan Field right now. I believe it was 2 to 3 weeks ago that they started taking it down. The workups of the new stadium look really nice. To me, it looks like a soccer stadium, to be honest with you, but it's going to be a multi-purpose stadium. I actually know some people who live in that area. There's a lot of people that were not happy about the fact that Northwestern, I believe it's 8 concerts a year that they're allowed to have there. So, to be honest with you, I love it. I've already in our Buckeyes Wires chat, I've already thrown my hat out there to get credentials to go to that game. I'm a
Yeah,
Cubs,
that's
I'm
right
a
in your
Cubs,
backyard.
I'm a Cubs fan. I live in Chicago. It's like, and every time the Buckeyes are in Evanston, I go and see them. I was at that windy game a couple of years ago when they only scored 21. And everyone's like, my God, like the offense is terrible, blah, blah, blah. But look, like those conditions it was crazy. I mean, literally 60 to 70 mile an hour gusts. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it was so windy in there, and you could just tell that passing really wasn't much of an option. And obviously it hurt the Buckeyes, but they still got a W, so it doesn't matter. Back to Wrigley, man, I'm so excited. I've been to multiple Cubs games. I have not been to a football game there. So that'll be a new experience for me, but I have watched them on TV. My issue is that brick wall that's back there. It's in both the end zones.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of Wrigley. Yankee Stadium has the bowl game, the Pinstripe Bowl, that's played there as well. So it's back to was it the is it Sanford? No, it's Oakland. Oakland when the Raiders played in the Coliseum, and they're running over the pitcher's mound and all that, which is what the Buckeyes will be doing as well. They'll be running over the pitcher's mound because I know what the layout will look like, and it goes through the infield and ends up one side is closer to the dugouts, the Cubs dugout, and then the other side is brick wall. So I'm really excited for that. Josh, what are your thoughts about the Buckeyes?
It's exciting because it's new. I'm very
never happened in Ohio State history.
Yeah, that's why it's exciting, but it is a little worrisome. I know they fixed the issue with way back in the day. I can't remember who they were playing, or what game it was. But they basically had to switch sides. The end zone was only one end.
Yeah, it was Illinois. Yeah, Northwestern Illinois. Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was forever ago. They fixed that. That's not going to be the case this year.
Right.
I know when Northwestern played like Notre Dame there a couple years ago too, and the turf was just absolute garbage.
They've played Wisconsin there as well in recent years.
So, the Notre Dame game was when it was just the turf was just completely deteriorated garbage. But they also said that it was because of weather, yada yada yada. So it's a little worrisome.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about Ohio State team that's going to be in the national championship conversation, and God, that's so typical Ohio State is for a guy like Jackson Smith and Jigba to tear their ACL on the infield. You know what I mean? Like that's just typical Ohio State.
Yeah,
so it is a little worrisome. That's probably drowning out my excitement, to be quite honest. It's just Ohio State's ever since. I mean, I don't know. I can't blame Ryan Day for injuries. I can't do that. I understand that. But ever since he has gotten here, you can't deny the fact that there's been at least one star player every year go down with a substantial injury, right?
Yeah, last year, but not like huge injuries.
No, but Travion, I'm going to count Travion Henderson.
Travion was out. Egbuka was out.
Mayan Williams was out.
Harrison, Mayan Williams. Harrison tweaked an ankle. Michael Jr. was out for a significant amount of time. So I mean, it's not. Last year wasn't season-ending injuries, but it definitely. There are some injuries across the board that didn't help the bottom line. So I agree with that. But it's Wrigley, man. Like
it's very cool.
Like,
it's a very cool idea.
If it's so cool.
It's very cool. It's very cool. I'd like to go as well. Hopefully we can get. I know that Mark's out there too. So we can get a whole Browns Wire crew out there. It'd be very.
Yeah. That would be a lot. That would be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Definitely a once in a lifetime type event.
Sure.
I'm not going to poo-poo on it. I think it's cool. I just, I'm a pessimist Ohio State fan. So every time, bubble puckers up with the thought of injury.
No, it's that's definitely something that's crossed everybody's mind. I'm sure it's already crossing Ryan Day's mind. It's like, well, this is not the kind of turf that you normally playing on. They got to prepare for it.
But I don't know. I don't know. It could be a complete overreaction. I don't know. I don't remember any horrific injuries happening to the Raiders. You know what I mean? They played it Wrigley a couple times.
Yeah, not that I can remember. I mean, maybe they go next door to Bill Davis and have a couple practices on the infield dirt. I mean, it's there. It's actually, although I don't think it's natural grass anymore. I think that they put in the turf a few years ago. So,
Yes, I think.
so yeah, I'm like 99% sure. I think Nick Swisher sent a bunch of money out there, and I think it's Bill Davis Stadium, Nick Swisher Field.
That's right.
I believe that's what it is. So
Yes.
I know for a fact that Swish sent a bunch of money over there. He's done fairly well for himself. The Yankees like to overpay players, so he's got plenty of money. Plus, I think his wife's an actress. I want to say. Don't quote me on that. I think she is. She's some sort of like she's in that industry, or maybe she's a musician, something like that. But yeah, no, Swish ain't hurting for any money. I think he does some work on TV as well right now too. So, but back to the Buckeyes playing at Wrigley. Yeah, it might be worth their while to get a practice out there, on the infield dirt at least for a little bit, and just to get accustomed. Yeah, just to get accustomed to it. I mean, it's right there, like literally, it's right there. When you're at a game of Bill Davis, right in the background's the WAC, and like literally back behind it's their practice field. So like, it ain't like they're going far to do this. So that makes sense, right?
That should definitely be a game where they pour it on and bench everybody by the second quarter. That would be my goal, is to get everybody off the baseball field as quickly as possible. But again, I don't know. I'm completely speaking out of pocket. I don't know. That's just me being worrisome for really no scientific or statistical reason.
Right. Just, I get it. It's a little.
Exactly.
We did have expansion on here, but I think that's going to be a podcast on its own.
Well, I just thought, so I put the expansion on there, and we can totally do another podcast on it. But someone was talking about how the Big Ten expansion isn't as sexy anymore because you have Kellen DeBoer, who left Washington, and you have Chip Kelly, who left UCLA, and then you have Ed Fish, who's probably going to leave Washington after this year. So it's not. Well, that's kind of what I said. I'm like, man, how can you say that? But right. I guess the thought process is he was from Florida, and Sunbelt Billy's going to get fired, even if which I like Billy Napier. I think that he doesn't really give a fair shake, but I guess that's a subject for. But that's the other reason why I bring it up, is because that was a kind of a topic that I heard a couple times from a couple of different people that the Big Ten, they got worse or whatever, and it's like, man, I disagree with a lot of that. Those are still very. When you're talking about college football, it's less, especially in today's day and age, it's less about who they are, and it's more about what they could become, the potential, the money in the bank, and all those schools. Yeah, sure, there might be a hiccup here or there, but they should be rock and roll. Plus, UCLA got hired Deshaun Foster, which I don't think was a good hire, but that's a homegrown boy he's from UCLA. I mean, you can't tell me he's not going to put fans in the stands. You know what I mean?
No, it definitely will. At least early on, it will.
Like, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I get where they're coming from. You're looking at DeBoer leaving and going to Bama,
and Harbaugh leaving too. That also added into
right. Harbaugh leaving, and Sherrone Moore taking shots at Ohio State, like he's.
But he's boring. That was the big argument, is that Sherrone Moore is boring. Harbaugh was an easy person to either love or hate because of his
most likely hate, yes.
Yeah, for us, right? Yeah, but in the national eye, people for you and me, we're gonna love the Big Ten no matter what. I'm watching Big Ten football, every Big Ten game as much as I can. I'm soaking it up. Sure. But in the national eye, now that Harbaugh's gone, the thought process is, do I really care anymore? Because
I get it. If they're good, you'll care. If they're good, you'll care, and that's all.
I think so. I would agree with that take. Yeah, but it's interesting.
I mean, right. If it's good, if they're good, nobody cares. Everyone's going to pay attention. But if they're not a team where you're just like, oh, what about Michigan? Like, that's not them. They've been good the last few years, but before that, they haven't been really relevant. What's their last titles in '98? So like,
well, it's still Michigan. You know what I mean? Right. It's just like,
it's a big brand, right? And
no matter what,
their fans will pay attention, right? So yeah,
exactly.
Of course,
and that's. Yeah, so I agree with you. I think that's kind of overblown.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd rather have it this way. I know that that's also a subject of discussion where some people are like, oh, it's not going to be the same if we can't beat Harbaugh. I poo-poo that all day. I just want to win. This is like, we see Ryan Day's hot seat at different temperatures, but we both agree that the seat is warm. So I'd like to see it be as easy as possible for him because I don't want him to get, you know what I mean? Like, I want there to be as easy a path as possible to win some games. So, the fact that all these guys are leaving, it doesn't really bother me. Plus, it's still big, Ohio State, act like Ohio State's not a major brand.
Right.
Just because Ryan Day's not sleeping over at recruits' houses, picking his nose, and drinking milk and wearing khakis is a little insane. You know what I mean? Like, I get the Harbaugh was the personality, but what what doesn't matter?
No, I don't think so. In the grand scheme of things, with college football playoff expanding to 12 teams, like Ohio State's pretty much going to be in it every year. It'd be more shocking to me if they're not in it every year.
If they're not in it, that's almost a fireable offense at this point.
I mean, this year they 100% should make it. But I'm just saying, like, in general, like going forward with the expansion, like how do they not make it? It's going to be hard for them to not make it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, even in the future, sure. I mean, 12 teams in the playoffs. If Ohio State doesn't make it, that whoever that coach is should be on the hot seat.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I would definitely. I would definitely agree.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of teams, and they're taking at-larges too. So they've definitely opened the door for the Buckeye bump, the Bama bump, or whatever you want to call it. I don't even know.
No. They'll definitely, if they're sitting 10-12, they're not going to get knocked out because another team, is there. That's
and Ohio State is what? That name. On average, they play 3 teams with the same amount of talent as them. Maybe
every year. Yeah. No, I'd say so. That's about right. I'd say so. Like what we got Oregon, Penn State, Michigan.
On the same level as them in the new Big Ten. You're looking at Ohio State. You got to. Washington obviously would have been this year.
Right, but they lost a lot as well.
Yeah, you're talking about perennially. In and out. I don't know. There's probably 4 teams in the Big Ten.
Maybe you could probably throw Washington in there, right?
Possibly, but that's my point. Is that Ohio State? For Ohio State would have to lose every game against a team
those teams,
the same amount of talent to not be in the playoffs. And if that happens, that's not good. That's not ideal.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's good. I don't think that's going to happen. You're right. We've seen down years from perennial powers. So yeah, it definitely could happen. But I just don't see it. I don't like in the grand scheme of things now with the expanded playoffs. I mean, that's really all we're talking about, right? That's the bottom line with expansion. Who really cares about who they're playing? You undefeated, you're going to make it, right? It doesn't matter. You win, you go 10-2, probably still gets in, right?
Yeah, if you're Ohio State, yeah.
Right.
I don't know if you're 10-2 and you're Florida State, no, you're not getting it.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like if you're 10-2 in the Big Ten or the SEC, you're getting in. You're safe.
Right. Yeah, 10-2. Yeah, a 10-2 Clemson would probably make it though.
I don't know.
I think so because of the brand. I think so because of the brand. They've won a title recently, and I think so. I think they do.
I mean, I disagree with it. I think that they deserve to be in, but me saying that they deserve to be in and them getting in are 2 different things.
That's true. But there are certain teams that can finish with the 10-2 record, definitely still make it. They're going to throw a bone here to some of the smaller schools. If a non-G5 school goes undefeated and has a win over a top 25. Power 5 school, then I think that they would make it. But we're talking about one other entry, and you win the conference, you don't have any questions. Right?
No,
that's the goal. Win the conference, and you're in position to possibly get a first round bye. Either that, if you don't win the conference, you're gonna as long as you finish on the top 8, you're gonna be hosting first round game. I'm so excited for those. I'm so excited to see the SEC come up north and play in the cold. I cannot wait to see that. But I don't think the expansion talking about a strong Big Ten. Have the Buckeyes really ever needed a strong Big Ten? They're gonna if they're close to it, they're gonna get in, and it just doesn't matter.
The Big Ten's never bad. The Big Ten, there are people that hate on the Big Ten. People were saying that the Big Ten was bad this past year. When they say that, I think that it's more like, Patrick Mahomes had a bad game. It's like, yeah, but it was still better than 85. You know what I mean? Like the Big Ten is a good conference. It's always a good conference. I can't remember the last time where, you didn't look at the top half and go, wow, that's a really good You know what I mean? Like the Big Ten is, I would, that's probably being biased, but I think typically they are better than even the SEC. I mean, the SEC's got some stinkers down there at the bottom when you look at like Vanderbilt and even Kentucky, South Carolina.
Sure. I mean, everyone's got stinkers. That's just the way the conference
the Big Ten stinkers are the difference with the Big Ten is that there's a lot of parity with the stinkers. Some years it's Northwestern, some years it's Minnesota, some years it's Nebraska. But when those teams are good, they're pretty good. I guess that's why I classify them as typically a better conference, right?
Yeah. They're the once every 3 years type of team.
Exactly. SEC doesn't really have that, right? So South Carolina, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, they're just never going to do anything.
Yeah, South Carolina is decent, but you're right. They're just not going to ever do anything. Right?
Pretty much.
I mean, they had what? I think they went 9-4 last year, right?
South Carolina?
I think so.
Did they really?
I think so.
Dude, I don't think so, man. Let's look.
I think so. I know that they had back-to-back weeks where they won top 25 games. One of them was Clemson as well.
That was 2 years ago.
That was 2 years ago where they went 9-5.
Well, I don't know, but that was 2 years ago when they beat Clemson.
2 years ago when
they went 5-7 this year.
They went 5-7. Okay, yeah. I guess I was thinking 2 years ago when they did that.
Yeah. 2 years ago they went 8-5, but I believe that's the year they beat Clemson.
Right.
Okay. 2 years ago.
That makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I'm not a South Carolina.
So I guess that's a bad example. They were also winning games. The Spurrier was down there, but you get my point.
Right.
There's always,
right.
Maybe.
They're down. They're down now. Although they did steal that defensive end from us, which I still don't.
Yeah, I guess when they have teams that go down for a whole decade, like you said, Big Ten has teams that go down for 2 of the 3 years and they're back. You know what I mean? There's a 50-50. Nebraska was dead last in their division this year. There's a 50-50 chance that they would win 10 games. That's just kind of how the Big Ten is sometimes.
Yeah, no, Nebraska's got an influx of talent. They on top of that, new head coach, and I think they'll be pretty good. They got our guy. Yeah, they got our guy Dylan Rail. They got Dylan Rail over there. So
yeah,
I think Ohio State came out on top.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You don't want that head case. That kid's got issues.
Yeah. I'd be willing to bet the house that he transfers at least once, maybe twice.
Speaking of South Carolina, that's a very Spencer Rattler, DJ Ukulele kind of player there.
Yeah.
Guy who's going to have issues, can't handle the pressure, yada yada, has to transfer out. Yeah. No, we can see right away that one.
Yeah. So. And speaking of transfers, maybe that Dylan Stewart there from South Carolina, maybe he changes his mind and comes back where he's supposed to go.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Let's touch real quick on the basketball team. Fired Chris Holtman. On top of that, which is what we talked about a couple weeks ago, that it was time to move on, and he did. I didn't think it was going to happen, honestly. But Gene Smith made the right move. He cried during the press conference. If you saw that, it was kind of funny. He likes Holtman. Obviously, he gave him an extension last year and a down year. And I just, at this point in time, I just think he lost the team. And then look, Jake Diebler comes in. They beat Purdue, and I don't think they just lucked into beating Purdue. I think that in my eyes, they controlled the game for the majority of it, except for the first 5-8 minutes where it's just oh geez, here we go, right? Because Purdue's they were ranked number 2 in the country, number 1 seed, projected number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. So you kind of thought oh man, here they go, and then they just, the biggest difference in my eyes was the fact that they pushed the ball a little bit. They use their guards, and that's the strength of this team is guards. Reddick Jr., Bruce Thornton. The strength of this team is the guard play, and for them to decide, hey, you know what? For Diebler to say, let's just up this tempo and just a little bit, and it wasn't every time they were. It was enough where that they can get some easy baskets. They could use their athleticism on the outside, and they got the job done. Now the question is Jake Diebler over the next couple of weeks can do enough to keep the job? I'm not going to postulate names right now. I don't think that that's the right thing to do, especially because we just don't know who might be available. I know Chris Gent has kind of tossed his name around, the former Buckeye. Uh, I think he's coaching a G League team right now. Has NBA experience. I think he would love to come back to Columbus, but is he the right fit? He's been out of the recruiting game for a little while, and in all college sports, recruiting is the lifeblood of your program. If you can't recruit well, you're just not going to have a good team. So it
Is
just,
that the case for basketball?
I think
I
so.
mean, is because I mean you got to figure. Again, I'm not a basketball expert by any means either, but I figured with the transfer portal and there being so many less people, you got 5 guys on the court. If you get one badass transfer,
I mean,
I
still think that just like in football, the basis of your team has to do with recruiting. I mean, look at Ohio State's team. Jameson Battle is the one transfer that's in the starting lineup right now. Actually, I'm sorry, that's 2. I have him a Hayfie as well. So, I do think that's, you're talking about 60% of your starters there. There's only, 12 guys on the roster. 12 guys in an active roster, 15 total. So, like, I still do think that, the lifeblood of your program is via recruiting, even though you can make some solid additions via the transfer portal. It's just, kind of what I think about hoops. I mean, do you think that Jake Diebler will do enough? And because this is going to be a Ross Bjork hire, it's not going to be a Gene Smith. So, and do you think that he can do enough over the next few weeks to earn the job and for them to keep him in that position?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, I want to be very clear as far as basketball goes. I've watched. I don't know. I don't think I've sat down and watched a whole Ohio State game, so I'm definitely not a basketball expert. But I think he can prove it. If that's, I don't know, with the new AD, you would think you want to make a splash higher, but that Diebler's not going to leave. He's still young. He's from the area. There's a lot of factors where you really want to root for him, and you really want to root for him to get that job. But I think that he can prove himself. What do you think? Do you think that he's the guy?
It's hard to say. In his limited head coaching experience, he's 3-0. Granted, 2 of them, one of them was earlier this year when Chris Holtmann got sick and was held out of a game. And I mean, I don't, a resume of what he's going to get 10 games max, maybe 12 under his belt. Is that enough? Do I think they should keep him on staff? Yes. Do I think that he's going to ultimately be the head coach? No. And just because I think Bjork, like you said, is going to want to make a splash, is going to want to go out and get his own guy to run the program. And, I think that Diebler has earned the right to be a head coach, but I don't think his first head coaching job should be at Ohio State. I think if, in a couple of years, can he come back? Maybe coaching the MAC, it's like, a smaller conference, get the experience and then come back. Yeah, I think that is a viable possibility. But to hand over the keys to the car with that kind of experience, I don't know if that's the right move.
I agree with you, man. I do think if you're Ohio State, you don't want to just give an assistant the head coaching job with the lack of resume. I think that's the truth for all sports. That's why we're in this mess with the football team.
Yep.
Just throw it out there.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. I'm like, where's this Ryan Day comment? Where is it? It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Where are you, Josh? No, I mean, it'd be nice to see him get the job, but I just don't think that at this point in time in his career that's the right move for him, and I don't think it's the right move for Ohio State.
Yeah, like the new AD is going to want to put a stamp on it, and he's not going to put a stamp by hiring somebody that's already been here. That's just not how it works, especially with a guy with that kind of resume, with Bjork's resume, where he's gone out and made splash hires everywhere he's been. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I don't know anything about basketball, but I do know, I've been able to follow how Bjork's been making moves, trying to figure out, what his stance might be on the Ryan Day situation. And with that, you can kind of see his – kind of 2 + 2 = 4, right, with the Holtmann situation.
Sure. But, they have 2 solid commits right now, Junie Mobley and Colin White. I do think that having some sort of familiarity with the coaching staff that is continuity would help keep those guys, because they could definitely ask for their release from their NILs and their scholarships, because there's a coaching change. There's rules about that now. So I do think that they're kind of like in a wait and see process. Mobley, I think, is a top 50 guy. White's just out of the top 100. So it's not like they're bad basketball players. They're good basketball players. Yep. And, I do think that Diebler has earned the right to continue to be on the Ohio State staff. Do I think it's at head coach? Probably not. Keeping me as an assistant would be, I think would be great. But, again, giving him the keys, I just don't feel like that's the best option for Ohio State at this point in time.
I agree.
All right, one last thing before we sign off. EA Sports is bringing back NCAA college football. I believe the last rendition was the 14, released in 2013. So we're talking 10 plus years here of not playing NCAA college football on our consoles. I actually still have an Xbox 360 that I fire up every once in a while, play a little Dynasty with in Ohio State. That's literally the only reation why I have an Xbox 360.
Dude, you and me both, dude. That definitely like it.
Yeah. Occasionally, if my wife's around, we'll toss on some Guitar Hero, right? Because the Xbox version, those versions I think were way better than new versions. The new versions are too hard.
I agree.
My fingers don't work. But
I just hope that they bring back the mode. Do you remember you could play, like, you could create your own little guy and you had to like work your way
they'll definitely.
But the part that I miss was that your girlfriend would get hotter as you got better. Do you remember that?
No, I
don't. Was like they got rid of that.
I think I ignored that part.
It was like NCAA 06 or something. But yeah, you'd have like this pixelated like girl. She like the better you got, like the more cleavage she would show.
That's hilarious. That's so funny.
Sick. They got rid of that.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Well, I don't think that would fly into this.
Yeah.
But it's awesome. I love it. I'm super excited. I will be pre-ordering my copy as soon as they're out. They did a little video preview, and guess who the first team they showed was?
Was it? I didn't even notice. Was it Ohio State?
It was.
I kind of want to deep dive into this a little bit. There's so much to talk about. I recently did an article of the top 5 rated Ohio State players in NCAA.
Yeah.
Have you seen that, or is it?
No, I haven't taken a look at that, but I'd be interested to look at it.
Well, I thought that we could play a guess. I was going to give you an maybe for next week.
Yeah. I'm gonna be terrible at that, but I'll give it my all.
Well, okay. Here, let's try one here. There's two guys in the history of the video game.
You're gonna give me some hints?
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. There's two guys in the history of the video
game.
Maybe
I can do this.
That were rated 99 overall. Okay. Okay. One was a linebacker in NCAA football 2009. And one was a quarterback in NCAA football 2004. Now, as a reminder for everybody, including the listeners, the year was like the year, like 09 would be like the 2008.
So four has to be Troy Smith, right?
Oh, no, I don't think Troy Smith. No, I'm sorry, cornerback.
Corner. Okay. Gamble.
Troy Smith's not even on the list.
Gamble.
Troy Smith doesn't make the top 10. Yeah, corner.
Gamble.
Yeah, you got it.
Chris Gamble.
Yep.
That was easy. And that linebacker, it's got to be Laurinaitis, right?
Yep, nailed it.
Yeah.
See,
with hints, like if you were just like random, I would have been lost. I don't know. Hints would help. Hints definitely help. Where's Gamble? Where's Troy Smith? Wasn't on that list. He went
not in the top 10.
Heisman.
Not in the top 10.
Freaking Heisman. How the hell does he not make that list? Maurice Claret's got to be up there.
I think no, Claret's not on here either. Claret's not in the top 10. I think those guys remember, you had to be good. So, like, the reason Laurinaitis and Chris Gamble are rated so high because Laurinaitis already was an All-American twice, right? And Troy Smith, the junior, you would think that Troy Smith would have been rated in the top 10 because
he was still an athlete.
Yeah, but I mean the Maurice Claret thing that makes sense because he played what the big year was his true freshman year that he was done.
Right. So sophomore year, he might have, maybe like a 95, 96, right?
Exactly.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
I'll give you. We'll do a hard one, and then if you guys like this, let us know. We'll do the rest next week. But this is one of the ones I think is harder. He's the number. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. He's the 10th highest rated Buckeye at 96 overall in NCAA 2005, and I'm scared to give you the position because I think that'll give it away.
2005.
He was in the running back room. I don't think you're going to get it.
It's Beanie Wells.
No, but Beanie Wells is on the list. He's higher. This guy, and I think Beanie Wells was like a 97 in like 2006 or something. This is Brandon Joe.
What?
Brandon Joe.
No way.
He was a 96 overall in NCAA 2005. We should have him on the podcast to talk about it. I asked him about it in person. He said Kirk Herbstreit called him before the game came out. I had him autograph a card for me where he put his NCAA. He said Kirk Herbstreit told him he was going to be a 99.
Brandon Joe?
96 overall, dude. Go back and check it out. Yeah.
That boggles my mind. Well, I can't look at your article now if you're going to quiz me next week.
I know. Yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll talk about guys that what we thought, so for instance, like the top 3 guys that I wish we could have played with, got to be Bosa, Chase Young. I mean, right? They got to be up.
Yeah.
And then CJ Stroud's up there.
Chase Young, CJ would be up there. Fields would be up there.
Yeah. Dude, what we think they'd be rated.
Yeah.
Although you'd imagine
Zeke would have been fun. Michael Thomas would have been fun. JT Barrett would
Michael Thomas be fun? What would his rating be?
Michael Thomas?
Yeah.
I don't know. 93? 92, 93?
I bet you Zeke would have sucked in the game. I don't think Zeke would have been good in the game either.
Why?
Because
he back his sophomore year, he was awesome.
Yeah, you're probably right.
They won a title as sophomore. They won a title as sophomore year.
You're right. Yeah, he'd be ranked up there. You're right.
Zeke would be in the Michael Thomas would be in the 90s, but I don't. I mean, he wouldn't be like a 95 or 96, right? But like when you played the game, what was your specific goal as a roster? Like, what was your tipping point with your numbers? Do you remember? Like,
so when I played the game,
ranking, when you built your roster. And you looked at it and you're like, where do I need to go and recruit like that 5-star guy that's going to come in as like an 86?
Oh, dude, you're asking the wrong guy.
Right?
Because when I loaded up the game, I immediately went and played it at like Akron was like my school of choice. Okay. Like the 1-star built them up. So like it was just trying to grab whatever you could grab.
Because like the first thing I did was fire it up and start a dynasty with Ohio State and see how many titles I could win by simulating it. I wouldn't even play. Now, I will say this, though. When I played, I was amazing. I barely ever lost. I think in my college days, I lost twice.
Really?
This was way before. No, this was way before like online gaming, like when you could like connect to the internet. Yeah. This was like 2000s, right? Like,
so you're talking about sitting in the dorm room just beating up on your boys, huh?
Oh yeah.
Damn.
Oh yeah. People hated playing me because
I remember
you win, you stay on. It's just like the basketball court, right? Next man up.
Oh, dude.
And
I had a roommate.
Once I got those sticks, it was over. It was over. I had some miraculous comebacks. Like I'd be down like 10 with like a minute to go. They just scored a touchdown. I'd return the kickoff, pick off a pass, and score another touchdown. Like crazy. Like I would go ballistic when I'd have a comeback like that because it just happened, man.
You can't just call plays. There is skill in time you to be and time you to back. I got a boy who makes money playing Madden. He'll bet people online, streaming all that.
I wish that was around when I was younger because I absolutely dominated Halo as well. I also in Halo. Like you're laughing, but like I was so good back in the day. Like I am terrible now. I'm terrible now because like I'm old and slow, right? Like my mind doesn't process that stuff. But back in the day, man, I like you can ask my boys too. Like if you're gonna get a chance to meet my boys, you can ask them, my college friends, you can ask them, be like, how often did I lose? And they'd be like, they hate talking about it. And I used to rub it in all the time. Like
Oh,
all
dude,
the
I would
time.
have hated playing you.
When I lost in Halo for the first time, they literally had a party. Like
Oh my god.
I swear to you, they had a
Oh, I would have
party
hated you, dude.
because
I would have hated you.
I won every time. Like every time we'd fire anything up, like I was winning, and they hated it. I mean, I played video games a lot when I was younger, so like going to school and playing against other people, like that was just like what we did, like you'd sit in your dorm room and just fire it up
Oh
and
yeah.
not go to class.
My
And
sophomore
just
year, I roomed with a dude. Shout out to Clifford Brooks, and we would go to practice. We come back to the dorm room, whatever. So the tensions are already high because you just got back from practice. You just sit here. He beat my ass so bad in NCAA one time. I threw our mini fridge, out the window of the dorm. Oh, dude, it was so bad. It was so bad. He was just trash talking. Oh, talk about doing unearthly things to my mother.
Well,
it was bad. It was bad.
I mean, I get it. I talked a lot of trash back in the day too, So I mean, like, let's be real here. When you win, and you'd win sometimes, the faction that I was winning, like you kind of had to. You couldn't be humble about that. You had to let your boys know.
Well, so we'll definitely we'll dive deep into the NCAA football stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like literally, like I mean,
I do want to. Did you ever play BCFX though?
No, I mean we played like 3 or 4 games, and that's like pretty much all.
It was Black College Football. It was Doug Williams' Black College Football: The Experience, and you could go on and play as like Alabama A&M,
Sure.
Mississippi Valley State. It was kind of cool because you could, it was kind of cool. It was different, but there was like wicked glitches, bro. Like at halftime, you had to do the drum line and stuff like that. But if you called the play like on an onside kick, they would run the play and you can get the ball back. Like for instance, like I would just run a screenplay. And like you could just keep the ball, and like no one else was watching. Like I was, I think it was like Tavares Jackson was in the game or something like that. Sure. So and there was like no rating system, but for some reason he was faster. Oh, it was such a fun, terrible game. They only made one, but it was like $3 at GameStop.
Oh my goodness! My goodness! Oh my goodness! Yeah, I might have to jump. I might have to jump on YouTube and watch some clips.
Oh yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Do you remember the Blitz games?
I do remember the Blitz. We didn't play that too much.
The Blitz. I'm talking about like the Blitz to League with like Lawrence.
Yeah, where you could just kind of like tackle anybody at any point in time, right?
You buy prostitutes for the opposing team and stuff to tire them out. Oh, that game was wild, dude. That game was wild.
I don't remember that part.
Yeah. No. Later on, when NFL Blitz lost, when they lost the NFL license, they teamed with the ESPN show. The writers of the ESPN show with the blue. You remember what I'm talking about? Not the program.
No, I don't.
Well, whatever. We'll close it out. Next week I'll come with the full report on it. But yeah, Lawrence Taylor was the voice. It was one of the voice actors in the game.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's
crazy. Yeah. All right. Well, Josh, got anything else?
No, man. Follow work at Buckeyes Wire. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Keatley16. Definitely give us a like, listen, and follow on YouTube. That was pretty awesome to be able to see all the views we got on Facebook last week and Twitter. I think we cracked 250 on Facebook and like 100 on Twitter. But we got to get those YouTube numbers up, guys. So if you could just click on it for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, you don't have to. Yeah. You don't have to watch it. Just subscribe, right? Just give us that sub. It's just one click, and you can.
That's right.
You put us on mute. That's fine.
Yeah, I don't give a shit, dude. We did great on Facebook though, so I do want to give a shout out. We didn't have as many questions this week, unfortunately, but we're going to roll on Wednesdays more consistently. So be ready for that. So
we appreciate everybody listening. You can give me a follow on Twitter at Mike F. Chen. Definitely, like Josh said, read our stuff on Buckeyes Wire. We got a lot of good stuff on there. That's it for me this week. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.